Trump devastates Iran at 11:15 p.m. while 6,000 sailors are stuck on ships without a safe route, as the Tehran regime insists on challenging passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran attacked merchant ships, put civilian crews at risk, and now feels the weight of the American response. Explosions were reported in southern Iran, including Bandar Abbas and areas near Sirik. Oh, a noise.
December 13th.
Of Sao Paulo, in Sao Paulo, Sao Paulo, in Sao Paulo, in Sao Paulo. While the Iranian air defenses were trying to respond to new hostile targets, the contrast was brutal. On one side, more than 20 American warships patrolled the waters of the Middle East. On the other side, hundreds of commercial vessels remained trapped, with nearly 6,000 seafarers without a safe way out. J.D. Vance summed up the warning to Tehran. If you try to close the Strait of Hormuz, the American military will respond.
We transport a large part of the world's energy. This artery needs to remain open, and that's what the Iranians need to know. If they try to close it, there will be a response from the American armed forces. It's that simple.
What did Trump hit at 11:15 p.m.? Why did Iran mess with civilian ships specifically? I'll tell you all about it in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward, no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. The United States Central Command confirmed a new round of attacks against Iran for the second consecutive day after the ceasefire was broken. The action was presented as a direct response to Iranian attacks on 3 ships, commercial vessels that were crossing the Strait of Hormuz. That's when Trump decided to raise the cost for Tehran. It was not a symbolic response. It was a calculated blow to sites used to threaten shipping. The ships mentioned by the United States were the MT Al-Hekayat, flagged in the Marshall Islands, the MT Wedjan, flagged in Saudi Arabia, and the MT Cyprus Prosperity, flagged in Liberia. For Washington, the attacks on these vessels broke the ceasefire and showed that Iran was not using Hormuz as a defense, but as a tool to pressure the world. The regime tried to test the limits. Bandar Abbas became the center of the crisis because it is a prosperous city, a strategic port city in southern Iran directly connected to the Strait of Hormuz corridor. Reports from the international press indicated the explosions in the region and the activation of Iranian air defenses after new attacks. Sirik also appeared in the updates with reports of detonations and military movement near the coast. Tehran, as it usually does, tried to control the information. But even the media started to crack. The Iranian state media admitted to sounds of explosions in the south of the country. The situation at sea became even more serious because nearly 6,000 sailors remained trapped on hundreds of ships in the Persian Gulf. The International Maritime Organization, linked to the UN, condemned the attacks on commercial vessels and warned that these workers should not have to risk their lives just for doing their jobs. The Secretary General, Arsenio Dominguez, asked ship owners and operators to avoid further transits while the safety of the crews is not guaranteed. This is the human side of the crisis. It's not just about Trump, Iran, missiles, and warships. There are cooks, operators, engineers, captains, and sailors trapped on vessels that can't leave safely. They don't make foreign policy decisions. They don't command military bases, they just work at sea. Even so, they have become direct victims of the pressure that Tehran has put on the Strait of Hormuz. The United States also displayed naval power. More than 20 American warships have started operating in Middle Eastern waters as Central Command reinforces the narrative of regional security and freedom of navigation. The message is clear to Iran and to any militia aligned with the regime. The route will not be surrendered to fear. The US Navy is present, patrolling, escorting, and showing that any attempt to destroy or close the passage could come at a high cost. J.D. Vance reinforced this message with a short and tough phrase: if Iran tries to close the Strait of Hormuz, the American military will respond.
We transport a large part of the world's energy. This artery needs to remain open, and that's what the Iranians need to know. If they try to close it, there will be a response from the American armed forces. It's that simple. That's the deal. They can follow this or they can go through exactly what happened to them last night. This will keep happening until they open that route and stop shooting at the ships. It's simple.
The statement matches the stance taken by Trump at the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey, where he had already indicated that he might strike Iran again. A few hours later, the explosions in southern Iran showed that the warning was not just verbal pressure. Tehran responded by trying to reverse the narrative. The Iranian military command accused the United States of aggression and promised an overwhelming response. But the regime's difficulty is explaining why commercial ships became targets in the first place. When Iran targets civilian vessels, it gives Washington the perfect justification to increase its military presence in the region. With each attack on ships, Tehran loses the argument, and it strengthens Trump's hand. Israel is also closely monitoring the escalation. The view in Tel Aviv is that Washington may carry out more than one round of attacks, especially if Iran keeps threatening the Strait of Hormuz. Military coordination between Americans and Israelis is now part of the regional landscape, with a focus on defense, intelligence, and preparation for further action. Meanwhile, the funeral of Ali Khamenei in Iraq added another layer of political weight to the moment. Crowds followed the procession in Najaf and Karbala, cities sacred to Shiites. The figure of 2.3 million participants was reported by the Popular Mobilization Forces, an Iraqi paramilitary group allied with the pro-Iran Axis, but there was no independent confirmation. Even so, the scene allowed Tehran to try to turn mourning into a display of regional strength. This mobilization in Iraq involves both religious and political calculation. Najaf and Karbala already received millions of pilgrims during major Shia events, and groups aligned with Iran were interested in showing large crowds in the streets. The regime wanted an image of strength at the same time its ports and military positions were being hit. The photograph of the crowd helped Tehran, but it doesn't change the main fact. On the military front, American pressure has increased. The Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, also tried to attack the United States in his political speech, accusing Washington of intimidation and manipulation. But the crisis in Hormuz didn't start with rhetoric. It started with attacks on commercial ships and with the Iranian attempt to use an international route as a tool of intimidation. Trump understood the move and responded. He responded at the regime's most sensitive point, the ability to control fear in the Strait. Oil prices surged again due to the possibility of a blockade. And this shows why the American response carries global weight. The regime bet that it could pressure civilian ships, inflame its political base, and rattle global trade. It received additional attacks, saw Bandar Abbas and Sirik become the focus of the explosions again, and now faces an American naval presence being reinforced in the region. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially through the Pix key that appears on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you informed with the truth. Your contribution helps us keep going. Thank you.